Voodoo Abuya Bochete. How y'all doing? Good evening. Uh, this is my first time making a video about my experiences with this religion. Today, and my first topic I'm gonna talk about is MESAS. MESAS are something that if you're a part of the Kumi or also known as Santeria or Palo, you probably heard about MESAS or Misa Blanca. Now, Misa is basically when they call down, you call down a spirits. In English, it's called, it's known as, calling mediums, going to a medium. Basically, you don't know how they conduit, bring the spirits and tell you what's going on. And, so that's basically that's just a simple way of explaining it. It's a lot more complicated than that. Excuse me. Uh, I'm an African American from the city of Chicago, born and raised in Chicago in Northwest Indiana. But I'm back in Chicago. Chicago's home. I'm a veteran. Um, so I'm just telling you my experience with a Misa. My first time. I'm a majority of my language is English. I know a little bit of Spanish because I grew up around Latinos majority of my life. Had a half daughter. My daughter's half Puerto Rican. So my Padrino's Puerto Rican, who I served with in the military. So we've known each other for damn near almost 20 years, coming to close to 20 years that him and I have known each other. Uh, so I'm just trying to explain to you what a Misa is in simpleton terms and make it short, sweet, to the point for those people who are African American or new to the religion or non-Spanish speakers who are, kind of skeptical about how I go about with this faith and everything else. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of insight about myself. Like I said, I'm, I'm a practitioner of this faith. I have my warriors. I have my Mano Bear Rula, Chada Yamaya. It took me about 4 years to uh, to become fully committed to this faith because at the end of the day, when you're dealing with the orishas, in English, some people say gods and goddesses. Some practitioners have a problem with that because they say orishas are more than that. It's the Eastern versus Western philosophy. I don't want to get into all that, but at the end of the day, I love this. I love this faith, and the game it's shown me a lot. So I went to my first Misa in Florida about 3 weeks ago, and like mind you, I went with my padrino, who's a babalao, my madrina, say my god sister and my god brother. So we're a small Elay, but we went down there as a family. So we all traveled down to Florida because I live in Chicago. My god brother lives in Michigan. My god sister lives in Jersey, and my padrino lives, excuse me, because he lives in Florida, in the Panhandle. But we had to go down to Tampa to to do the misa. So we go down to the Tata Yenge house, which is a beautiful thing. First, they were Paletos who had they were from Cuba. Tata, he didn't know them. He didn't really know that much English, but his yeye did, and some of the people in his Elay knew both. So I had to had the blessings of having people who could speak English and Spanish. So it's easier for me to to communicate and hear the message from the Eguns and their ancestors. So I go to this misa for the first time. Now, mind you, I had readings from gypsies before I joined this faith. Then when I was learning more about this faith, I had readings from from my padrino now, who's a babalao, and then from tarot card readers and everything else. So when I go to the misa, and the first thing that happens, you when Tata brings down the spirits of my eguns, they tell me certain things that only me and my padrino would know, or things that I would know personally from previous readings or readings I have done with other people from years ago. So and I'm the last person to go because I'm the English speaker. So my madrina went first, then my god sister, then my god brother, then me. So they're telling me everything was going on in my life from the past, present, future, families, everything. Boom. And it was so beautiful to know. you know, because I'm his the Tata's wife is saying it in English. He's saying he's bringing the spirits, so the spirits is speaking in Spanish, and my Padrino's talking to me, and while he's translating English to Spanish, and he's writing down notes because, like I said, he's a military man, so he's very particular. Him and his wife, my yeye, they're very particular, so they write down the notes and everything else to make sure that I'm on top of knowing what I need to know from my goons. Very beautiful thing. I would recommend people that if you have a chance to get a misa done, please get it done because it reconfirms if you get the right person to do it. And like I said, I didn't tell the Tata Yeye that I'm a child of Maya, but my Igoons was telling me things that I need to learn. That yeah, Maya and Olokun was telling me, boom, 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 you know, A, B, and C. And then it took about 30 minutes for me to tell them into the reading because my Igoons was very hard about things I need to do for my Yeye. That hey, you know, he is a child of Maya because my Padrino don't play that. He don't tell people who know who I am. But even though he knew this Tata, he doesn't play that game of telling people, well, you know, this is my godson, he's a child of this is my goddaughter, she's a child of this. He doesn't play that game, you know. So that he's a you know, even though he's a Babylon now, he's a child of Shango. So you know, they really they don't cross that fucking line. So it was a very beautiful thing. So getting the readings and learning what I knew from and the you know the confirmations from previous readings, certain things they told me that came out in my E5 readings and some readings from going to my gypsy is reaffirming what I need to know. So I tell you this is because when you go to a Misa and when you get into this faith, you will learn that a lot of things are interconnected and you will see a pattern. So when you go to a Misa or when you go to a Bawalao or Olorisha, which is also known as Entero, you know, however you want to call it, excuse me, 'cause I've been drinking a little bit of rum. They will tell you when you get the readings, you will kind of see if your eyes are open, you will see a pattern of your life on each reading because you will see the same obstacles. Might come in different ways, but you will see the same. You will see the same fundamental obstacles. It's because it's not always a straight line. So when you go to a misa, if you have multiple readings, a lot of times those readings will come out again on top of new things that's going on in ways you need to go. So a misa to me is very much worth it. It's a beautiful thing. I had a great experience, a great time. Beautiful family, beautiful Ile that I was introduced to get my reading from. And you know, as a person who's African American, I'm a black person, grew up, born and raised in Chicago and Northwest Indiana. Uh, Traveled for the world as a military person, and then and then as a non-military person, you know, I've dabbled in the right hand and left hand path. Just to know to get the reaffirmation from these readings is tell you that hey, your goons are with you. Talk with them, speak with them, and they will guide you. And if you're like me, who's a hothead, sometimes, and when you divine, you got to back up and just take your time and let somebody else do the divination for it. Because sometimes your orim is not focused on the real task. So you know your goons, if you deal like with me, you deal with your goons, you get confused, whatever you know, you get mixed messages. And I learned that by myself. But then again, if you have a chance to go to a misa and you have a friend or a family member or a trusted advisor who, if it's in Spanish, who can tell you in English, just go. It's a beautiful thing. I would recommend it for people who can find the right person to bring down, who can conjure the spirits to bring them down, be the conduit to give you the message you need to get. So again, thank you for listening to me. This is my first video about this. I'm thinking about documenting my journey through EFI and you know other things. I thank you for your time. Thank you for dealing with this.